Okay, here we go. So proof's in the pudding, people. I am 3 hours into my run and my output temperature is still 85 degrees. I have distilled now 3.5 litres from a 6 kilogram wash of sugar, and I am doing final cuts now, and I still have not found tails. So it just goes to prove, if you don't believe me, this is the second time that I've shown it now. If you heat really slow, say this is a 25 litre still, if you heat it with a 2400 watt element, which is way too overpowered, you want to buy a controller and you want to turn it down to about 152 volts. I don't know how many kilowatts that is, maybe 0.9 of a kilowatt. I used to have an element in this and it was 1320 kilowatts, and it was so overpowered that it would give you tails every single time you did a brew. And I was so angry that accidentally the element blew one day and I had to replace it, and ever since then, because the element is overpowered, I've had to buy a controller, and this controller has been nothing but a blessing. So I am running now at 146 volts and I'm 3 hours into it. The boiling temperature will go up, but at the moment it is 84 degrees. My water is going flat out. And the reason I tell you go flat out is because we are not here to make steam, are we? So you don't need to turn your boiling temperature up so that you can create more steam and get lower proof alcohol. All you need to do is crank this thing flat out and slowly heat it up and slowly boil it off and slowly collect stuff, and then you won't get the tail smell at the end. And the proof's in the pudding. 3.5 litres, should be getting tails by now, and this is as clean as a whistle. Don't create the tails with the lead frost effect, which is the steam that comes off the element when you're heating. That is about 300 degrees, so you don't want that. You want to heat it really slow. Don't scorch anything. You don't want any hissing around the element. Heat it up and run it real slow, and proof's in the pudding, man. Okie dokie, Pinocchio, I am up to 4.5 litres and still there is no tail smell. Oh, I wonder why that might have been. Because I didn't create them in the first place. One of the things is, instead of trying to fix a problem, don't create it in the first place, and then you don't have to deal with it at the end. The tail smell still isn't coming through. That means that there's no steam coming through either, because it's the steam and the water that carries the tails flavour. It doesn't really dissolve in the alcohol too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect 120 mils of this, and what I'm going to do is check that this condenser is running very cold, and that even after 4.5 litres of alcohol, that the quality is still going to be between 73% and 60%, which means you don't need to run your still until you get low ABV numbers, because the quality is determined by this here and how slow you run the still. You run the still slow, you get really strong alcohol. I've just tested this output here, and it is coming out at 62%. So it just goes to show you don't need to run your still really hot so you get down to like 30 ABV or 10 ABV. You're just going to get nasty, horrible tails. Run slow from the beginning, and yeah, I'm running at 62% right now. So, and the only thing that's going to change is it's going to stop dripping. Well, I'm doing my second distillation today of this new creation that I'm making with muesli. So I'm just filling up a bucket of water here just to judge how much water I need, and then I'm going to throw it in the still and heat it up to boiling, and then I'm going to get yesterday's distillation, which is about 4.5 litres. I'm going to put that in the still, and then I'm going to macerate the muesli that I'm making. So I've got the muesli baking in the oven here. That'll be ready in about half an hour. So I don't have days to macerate this. I'm going to macerate it for maybe 2 hours, and then I'm going to start running it at about 2 o'clock this afternoon. All I'm going to do is try and strip as much flavour out of the muesli as I can. Then I'm going to strain it, and then I'm going to put it in the still. I thought maybe I could just throw the whole lot in the still and boil it and distill it, but I don't really want to have any accidents with this element scorching, because you only get one shot to do it. So sadly I'm going to have to do it the right way. Just a word of note, somebody in the comment section on my channel told me that there's no such thing as the lead-in frost effect when it comes to running a still. Oh really? Well then have a look at this. See those bubbles of steam coming off? They are hotter than the element. They're about 300 degrees when they come off, and then it quickly cools back down into the water. So yes, there is a lead-in frost effect, because you can see it happening right there. If I was to get the lead-in frost effect while I had a wash in here, it would caramelise the wash and I'd end up with dirty smelling tails. The only reason I'm running it this fast is because I'm heating water so that I can sparge this muesli once it goes into this bucket. So there you go, there is the lead-in frost effect, because you can see it happening right there. It's time to put the muesli into the bucket. Right, so it's time, and I am now putting the muesli and alcohol back into the still, and then I'm going to sparge this the grain that's sitting at the bottom of this, and then yeah, basically I'm just going to wash it with some hot water, and then strip as much of the flavour and alcohol out as I can, and then dump it in the still here. Here I am, just sparging what's left of the grain, getting as much of the flavour as I can out. I've done this once already and strained it and tipped it into the still. This will be the second time, and depending on how full the still is, I'll be doing it a third time. The grain's been sparged 3 times and thrown into here, and I've got about half a cup of grain that was soaking, and I put that in too. So here's a knob of butter, and that'll break the surface tension just in case there's a boil over. But I never run the still that high anyway. If you don't have butter, use olive oil. If you're in a boat in the sea and you've got mild waves next to your boat, and then you throw some olive oil around the boat, all of the sea around it will calm down and become nice and shiny. That's how far the surface tension of olive oil can go. So just in case the flavour goes missing from the muesli that I've made, I'm putting 2 cloves in. Try and get cloves with berries on the end. These ones don't have berries and they're not as strong. So find ones with the berries on the end, and I'm just going to throw them in the still now while it's heating up. So this leftover grain, I was thinking, well, I'll throw it out to the birds, but I've just reminded myself that I'm actually growing scallop mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, aren't I? So this has been sterilised in alcohol and water and boiled. So it's pretty sterile, and it'll probably be going into the freezer as food for my oyster mushrooms. So this is bagged up, and I was just thinking to myself, you know what, I can use this again in the next recipe, and I'm actually going to ferment it with alpha amylase and glucoamylase, turn it into sugar, and then do a vodka wash that's going to be as smooth as. Well, it's the first time this has ever happened. I've got 3 litres of oat and sugar wash distillate. For the last half hour it has been blowing cloudy garbage, and I've felt up here and it's not puking, so I have no idea why all this cloudy junk's coming through, but it does have particulates in it. I've just done an alcohol reading, and like I was saying, my still is tuned so that it doesn't make weak alcohol, so this is down at 50%, which is just junk to me. So for the next 1.5 litres I'm going to be running junk, all I'm going to do then is put charcoal on it, clean it up and stick it in the next run. No worries. So this is the colour of the garbage that the tails stuff. It is running now at 50%. So this is the first time ever I have made alcohol that is weaker than 60%. So I'm going to put charcoal on this and then clean it up and use it for the next run basically.